Hello, Calvary family. This is Pastor David here with a brief word of encouragement for you this Friday. To me, the most interesting person we've met on the journey we've been taking through God's grand story is Jacob. He's a deeply flawed human who, through deceiving and scheming, earns his name, which means he deceives. Yet it is Jacob, the deceiver, whom God blesses and makes a blessing to all peoples. His transformation from deceiver to blessed man culminates on a lonely night alongside the Jabbok River when Jacob, that is, wrestles with a mysterious man who turns out to be God in human disguise. The wrestling match lasts all night until Jacob finally says, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." Why is Jacob demanding God's blessing when he's already been blessed? 20 years before, on another lonely night near Bethel, God had said this to Jacob from Genesis chapter 28, verse 14. "Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the east and the west, to the north and the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you, and I will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I promised you." Well, though God promised this to Jacob, he could not fully believe it or rest in it. The promise apparently had been a known fact to him, but it did not assure him. It did not inspire his heart. He just couldn't believe it, probably because of the kind of man he knew himself to be, a deceiver. He was a deceiver, and how could God bless a man such as that? Well, probably unseen to Jacob, Jacob's heart had been changing. God had been doing a work within him. For 20 years, he had been enduring the schemes and the manipulations of his father-in-law, Laban. He had gotten a taste of his own manipulative medicine. Apparently, being cheated made him want something better. He wanted a life of integrity, a life pleasing to God. Finally, Jacob came to the place where he wanted God's blessing more than anything else. But he still couldn't believe that God had actually blessed him. God had to convince him that he would never deserve the blessing, that he could receive it by faith. So toward the end of this wrestling match, the mysterious man merely touches Jacob's hip and with supernatural force tears it out of joint. Jacob will ever after walk with a bad limp. That had to hurt. And it had to prove to Jacob that he could never win this wrestling match with human strength. Nevertheless, he holds on to the man for dear life and demands the blessing. Whatever the fight costs him, in his mind, he's decided he cannot live without God's blessing. In fact, Jacob says to this man, "Even if I must die, I cannot live without your blessing. Though I haven't the strength to win this fight, I will not quit unless you bless me." Jacob is finally ready to receive the blessing from God. So this God in human disguise blessed him at that moment. Forever after, Jacob's limp will remind him that he lost the wrestling match. But as he limps away, he's finally able to believe that he is blessed by God. He's finally able to receive and enjoy God's blessing. Well, we're like Jacob. We must realize that we can't wrest the blessing from God. Only when we admit defeat will we fully believe God when he says, "You are mine. You are accepted in the beloved. You are blessed in Jesus Christ." Sometimes we even have to be given a limp. We're wounded, and we have to be given a limp in order to remind us that we didn't win our blessing. We only received it by faith. We have to remember this wonderful verse. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. So, Jacob shows us that we are blessed when we fully believe the God who freely gives his blessing through faith in Jesus Christ. Have a great evening. Bless you.